Hi, my name is Logan Handsaker from Ag Leader Technology, and I'm a product sales specialist. And today we talked about where technology's headed, how it's impacted my family's operation, and some new technologies with displays, as well as some steering products that we are releasing later this year, and just how that's geared towards impacting the farmer and improving their overall life, their ease of use of operating, and helping them achieve their goals with precision technology.
Farm for Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit Podcast.
And listeners, welcome back to the Farm for Profit Podcast. This is Tanner.
Corey's here.
We're in studio.
Getting ready to leave.
Probably one of the last times we'll be in studio for a while.
Packing
feels
up.
like.
Yep.
Oh, excited to go out and get on the road. We appreciate each and every one of you listeners. As always, we want to say thank you. But we do want to ask you to do more.
Do more what?
Everything. Sharing it with your friends. Making sure your in-laws know that this is the best thing since sliced bread. Buying extra phones so one phone can just listen to us all day.
We need more reviews.
Oh.
That's what we need. Go to whatever platform you're listening on. If you have not, it takes 10 seconds. Leave us 5-star.
Is it really 10?
Yeah. You click on it. You go up to the top. I'm on Spotify right now, and you just hit wherever the stars are and hit a review. And you can leave 5 stars. You don't have to leave words, I don't think.
Oh,
but you should
leave words, would you?
You should. I'm trying to get to the point where I can actually read them, but I'm struggling.
Yeah, we've had a couple of great text suggestions. We had a text suggestion last night saying we needed to get a couple of horse folks on. The industry-leading, I can't remember what it was, miniature horse? No, I'm making that up, right? But a breeder that has continued the line of genetics throughout the show world that's just dominated.
Probably tired of us bashing horse people. I feel
Maybe
like we have a couple times on the hay side of things.
Potentially. But no, we are in... We just got back from National Farm Machinery Show, so we're in our little bit of a little gap here to repack our bags and suitcases to head out to Commodity Classic in Denver. So come on out there. We'll be bouncing around between the Sukup booth, the AgX booth, Corteva's booth, and John Deere. So we have a busy schedule.
Whoa.
But
How are we going to do that?
Lots of beer.
I don't.
Coffee?
Coffee, maybe. Yeah, Red Bull for Dave.
It'd be great. We got extra help, so it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to purposely make it to where at least one of us is available to hang out and have a conversation with you as well. Excited for this talk today, though. We always like to hit a spring flow of what's new in ag technology. As you're getting ready and making plans for the field, what are some things that might provide extra value? Maybe give you a little bit of your time back.
Yeah.
Maybe save you a little bit of money through efficiencies and everything that we can put together.
Time is our most valuable asset.
It is. Are you excited for this, or is it just me?
I'm excited. I'm
you?
always excited to find new technology.
Well, we've got Logan sitting here. I think it's the first Logan we've ever had on the podcast. It's not the first Handsaker.
No, I don't know if it's the first Logan though either.
you don't?
I mean, we've done 500 shows. How do you remember all those?
I have a steel trap. It's like the farmer that knows what the weather was like in 1979.
I'm going back to Spotify now. I'm going to literally search Logan and see if there's been any Logans on
Logan
the podcast.
is an ag leader product specialist, if I read that correctly.
Product sales specialist, correct, yeah.
Yeah. And welcome to the podcast. We're excited because you're tied to ag leader. Obviously, it makes you more than qualified to be able to talk about what's new and coming out this spring.
The Farm for Profit team is heading to Denver for a Commodity Classic, and we'll be at the Sukup booth each day.
What will you be doing there?
Check out the schedule and come hear about all the new offerings from Sukup, from the new groundbreaking grain monitoring software to the traditional top-quality steel solutions.
Once again, Sukup's motto of store now and profit later is proving that having the right grain storage system pays off. Whether you're upgrading bins, dryers, or grain handling equipment, Sukup has you covered.
Visit sukup.com to learn more and see you out in Denver.
And you said not the first Handsaker, so I got to ask, are you related to Jacob Handsaker?
I am related to Jacob Handsaker.
Okay.
He's my cousin, first cousin.
Friend of the podcast, Tyler, going to be doing some tiling work for our other co-host Dave,
Excellent. Yeah.
and has done a little bit of work, not directly with us, but kind of for us on the edge of field practices down at Big Creek State Park for our family's farm. So good dude there. I've known Jacob through some Farm Bureau things and being involved in that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. He texted me this morning, and you walked in. I'm like, Handsaker, like,
Yeah.
and then you're like, yeah, it's my cousin.
I was at the Iowa Power Farming Show yesterday and talked to him a little bit, and just happened to run across him and mentioned that I was going to be here today. And he's like, "Oh man, that's awesome!
Yeah.
I want to figure out how I can work with those guys a little bit, maybe in the future."
Yep.
That's pretty cool. So if you're cousins, are you from the same area that he is?
We are. Yeah, we're from Radcliffe, Iowa. That's kind of where the home base is. So
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about little Logan and how you got to where you are.
yeah, well, growing up, grew up in Radcliffe, Iowa, which is about 30 miles northeast of here, roughly. Grew up out in the country, but involved in a farming operation that my dad and my two uncles were a part of, my grandpa at the time. So I got a little touch of the ag experience, the farming experience, and loved farming. Like, I was pretty convinced growing up, like, I'm going to be a farmer. This is what I want to do. Go out and run tractors. I know at a young age it was always a blast to be able to go out and run the equipment in the field and feel like you're contributing something to the operation. So just in that, moving on to college, I guess, going to Iowa State University, sticking in an ag field at Iowa State, and knowing that, somehow I want to be involved in ag. Don't know what that is yet, but I want to do something in agriculture. And so fast forward a couple years after graduating, I got actually a job offering from a co-op, installing, selling, supporting customers, putting precision ag equipment on tractors and equipment.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I got my start in that, got my foot in the door, I guess, with precision technologies. And it kind of moved its way to the point where I was able to actually work for Ag Leader in one of the companies that I was selling and supporting in the field.
So did you go to Iowa State's, was it AST program?
Oh, my Iowa State journey was pretty weird. I wasn't the best student, maybe, but I started actually in architecture was where.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I did one semester there, realized that I wasn't smart enough or willing to commit the amount of work to become an architect long term. So, and a little bit of homesick too after being away from the farm and spending those that first semester going home a lot to help on the farm. Then it was I moved into an ag field, ag systems technology, ag business economics. And then my senior year, I changed my major again to ag engineering. So then I finished out with an ag engineering degree. Once again, still really didn't know what I wanted to do, but felt like engineering was probably the one that gave me the most opportunities long term that I was kind of motivated
Was
around.
there a lot of engineering that would have been in the architect field, like a lot of the same classes?
No.
No?
No,
It's completely
not,
different?
not in my first semester. It was
Really?
very different. It was a lot of drawing and conceptualizing, different spaces and being motivated towards designs based on previous architects. So it was a lot of just studying previous architects and how they designed work and designed spaces uniquely, and trying to kind of pull that towards other projects and using their motivations to design your own space. So it was not a lot of math, not a lot of engineering courses at that point. So it kind of just scrubbed all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and then went to AST, Ag Business Economics. And then, like I said, before my senior year, there was a decent amount of carryover between the AST stuff, but I still had to go back and take like freshman level engineering classes as a senior. And so it was fun. So I was there for about 5.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Went the opposite. I got done in 3.5, and I cussed myself for not going the full 4.
Yeah,
I came
overachiever.
in with some credits from high school, and I just was like, all I saw was like I could save X amount by not going, this semester if I could push everything forward. It doesn't really cost you anything more besides the credit hour, to take more credits. So But then afterwards, I'm like, man, I was having too much fun. Why did I leave that for the real world?
Yeah, exactly. I think, how I would recommend or, advise my kids moving forward is very different than like what type of advice I had coming out of high school.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you got to go to school for 4 years, get a degree so you can get a job. Now it's like, man, make sure you know what you want to do. Maybe working is the right thing. Maybe, be an apprentice or something is the right thing. Figure out what you want to do. You don't have to go to a major university, go to community college or something like that and get some skills training there. So it'll be interesting to see. We got 5 kids, so I'm obviously thinking about college and what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
So
Sure. You said 5?
yeah.
Wow.
Busy.
Yeah, it is busy. It's insane. 13 and under, and they're in sports and
Holy smokes.
other activities. So we're.
How do you even have time to be here at 9 o'clock on a Friday morning? I guess they're all in school probably.
Well, I still have a job, that I got to go to, but yeah, it's a busy life. So
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So, are you still involved on the family farm?
I am not involved in the family farm. I would say I'm involved kind of as a liaison between them and some of the technology they're using. So I get up there occasionally and talk with my cousin Brett. He's probably more of like the farm, the head of the farming operation. Jacob's more excavating, tiling, that sort of thing. So I work with Brett on occasion just to help him kind of move forward and try to understand where do you want to go, what do you want to try to achieve, and how can we help you get there with the products that we offer at Ag Leader. So
he's an advisory board seat.
Or a consultant or
Yeah. We tell our listeners all the time that you don't have to be the expert for everything.
Yeah.
I know the old Pioneer commercial, that played during Iowa State football games said you got to be an accountant and you got to be no, you don't have to. It's nice to understand, bits and pieces of those areas, but for your cousin, it's nice to know somebody that understands ag tech and how that can, make the farm more efficient.
yeah. I would say that's my the biggest value that I've brought, because not being like a dealer for the product itself for a number of years, it's hard for like me to stay on top of all the changes in equipment, all the new products that we offer, how they work, how they fit, and how to bring them into a complex system, because every planter is different, every tractor is different, every sprayer is a little different than what you expect. And our dealers really, especially, like the Blue Delta dealers, are very highly trained. They've got tons of experience, and those are really the experts around, okay, how do we take this idea of the technology that you want to do and actually bring that to your farm on your equipment and make it work? And they can make that happen. Whereas I'm like the idea guy. I know we can do this. Ag Leader can do this. And then it takes me a lot of work to figure out actually how to do that. But generally it's successful.
What's Blue Delta?
Blue Delta is some of the, I would just say, the most trained, our premier type of dealers that spend the most time being educated on the product. They promote our products. They generally sell the most volume of products and are the leading product experts.
It's like your SEAL team.
It's essentially the SEAL team on steroids. So if you want, they're very good at being able to execute on the plans and know exactly how to make everything work to the farmer's expectations.
We need a cool phrase like that for our listeners. The Blue Delta.
The Blue Delta
Yeah.
listeners.
Yeah, we should make it up.
What do you got, listeners? What do you want to be called? We don't need no stupid name like Profiteers.
Profiteer.
See?
Okay, Disney.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of why we're here. We want to know as we go into spring. Can we go season by season? Do you feel like that's a good way to approach how technology can benefit our listeners?
Yeah. I think it might help just for me to tell a little bit of a story around what I did, because to me it's really impactful, and it makes hopefully it can resonate better than me trying to
Go for it.
talk about all this stuff. So a few years ago, I've been at Ag Leader for about 10 years now, and I have been trying to kind of work my way or Ag Leader onto my cousin's farm, and it just hadn't been the right time for a number of years and a number of reasons, and eventually I kind of weaseled my way in there through a new product that we had at the time a few years ago, which is Ag Leader's new steering product that we built. It's homebrewed. We made it ourselves. That way we could kind of control all the features, functions of it moving forward. So I took it out to his farm and I said, man, can you just do some testing with this? Because we need some testing, and you're close. It makes sense. You're a good tester, or could be a good tester. And so we took it out and he ran it for a season. And that was kind of, I would say, that the launching point to where we were able to get more Ag Leader products on his farm. They run a variety of equipment of different ages and different models, and so it was important for me, I guess, to be able to provide a technology for them that they could leverage across their entire operation, and bring a technology to them that we could actually add functionality and improve their life, maybe even beyond the field itself. So just make the whole pursuit of technology easier and better for them. And what I mean by that is like being able to have all your data in one spot. That was something that was important for them long term, but I think many farmers would agree that, man, we're in a data and an information age where data is power and data is value. And so I knew, based on just what they had on their farm, they weren't collecting all the data that they really needed to collect in order to make better decisions moving forward. So for me, going out, it was like, man, we need to get your whole farm on Ag Leader so we know we can get all the information we need put into one spot, so that at the end of the year we have that yield report card, and we can back check that and say what made sense, what worked, what didn't work, and how can we use this to make different decisions next year for you ultimately to be more profitable. Ag Leader's a company that really prides itself on being that full farm solution. So we're not just auto steer solutions. We're not just yield monitoring. We have products that can improve the performance and functionality of about every operation across the field. And so starting at spring, when we went to the field with Ag Leader equipment, I was able to bring some new features and functions to their farm that they had never had before. Some of those things were our advanced steering functions like turn path and smart path boundary guidance, to where when they're out there doing tillage, let's say in the field, you pop in the field and you can load the guidance line around that boundary of the field without having to do anything. It's just there's a line around the outside. You can hit auto steer and it'll take your tractor around that boundary without having to set a new AB line. And
Yep.
so it just adds some really nice features for them in tillage as well as in other operations like planting as well. So we started at tillage. They got a couple different tractors with field cultivators. When we connected all of their vehicles together with our connectivity solutions, they could run two tractors in one field, load the same guidance line, share the same coverage maps, and really improve some of the efficiencies and ease of operation there too. So
it's not that they weren't using technology. They might have just had a little bit of a hodgepodge of things, and it all just needed to you needed to come in and say, if we do this together, it'd be, 1 + 1 = 4.
exactly. It's the sum of the parts, because our displays and our products have so many things built into them that oftentimes farmers aren't even aware that we can do. But when you take it out there, you say, oh, now you can do this, now you can do this, now you can do this. And it's just a sum of all these improvements that really add to the value of everything.
And if you were a farmer that adopted some of this technology early, you just maybe we were our own enemies, because we're just used to the hodgepodge of miles of cables, that were put in there, because it wasn't all plug and play. So we were just used to it being crazy. You know? But you can collect all the data in the world, but if you don't use it, what good is it for?
Exactly. Yeah, if you can't put it in one spot and you can't understand the maps, what good is collecting the data? Some of it was they weren't collecting the data on some of their operations. So they were running some really old controllers on their anhydrous bar that wasn't mapping and wasn't logging data. Well, if you're not able to do those things, then why would you ever test your anhydrous rates on your field? Because you'll never know if a higher rate or a lower rate makes a difference. And so one of the things that happened really early on was that once we started bringing this stuff to the farm, he was comfortable just running some of these tests. And we have some of that data from last year where he just ran some strips through his field, high rates, low rates, to test his standard rate. He'd been applying a certain rate of anhydrous for years probably. And let's just see if that's the right thing to do on this particular field. And so we learned very easily, with all this stuff being connected and all the yield maps just going into one spot, that can be read on your iPad, on your computer at home. And you can layer that information very easily and call out certain areas that you want to look at. You can make really quick, easy analysis on things like that are really impactful on the farm. And going into next year, he's deciding to actually change his rate based on just that simple test that he was able to run. So,
man, we've talked to our listeners a lot about, good data is what you can make good decisions from. If it's crap in, you're going to get crap back out. And Corey's reflected on the way this family did trials in the past and how they do trials now. So it's neat to see. I know that this summer it's one of those things where you didn't realize you should have a long time before, but we did this year. We always mow, 400 to 500 acres of rye. And we've got a Heston self-propelled mower. And we just always drove that mower because it's, used for up until last couple of years, waterways and a couple of small patches that you'd bale off for grass hay, but we would drive it. So you'd have 3/4 mile long rows and you're trying to drive a straight line. We went and got an ag leader system, the one that controlled steering wheel, it's in 1998, right? But how much more efficient did we become because we knew we were getting a full sickle width the entire day. We weren't exhausted from trying to keep that thing steering straight and went, wonder if we could collect data off of this too.
Yeah.
So that was kind of neat. You'd always done it one way and you didn't realize what you were missing out on. And now people fought over who had to go mow.
So it would have been, what was that called? The easy steer?
Yep.
Oh yeah. Real easy steer.
Right. And it's not new technology.
Yeah.
But for the old machine that we had, God, that made a world of difference.
Yep.
That was our first steerable thing, was the easy steer on our tillage tractor for ripping and cultivating.
Yeah.
You didn't want to run your finger through it.
I remember those. I remember dealing with a lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing too that you mentioned, just the complexity. I think farmers are inundated with new technology, new things they can do every year. Like so much so that it can be complicated. Okay, what is the right path for me to go down with my tech investment? I know I want to improve. I know I need to add technology because it's important and there's value to it. But where's the right partner? Because it can add a lot of complexity and time to a farmer's life if they have a hodgepodge of different things. And one of the values too of going full farm ag leader was that in every cab that you got into, regardless if it was the tillage tractor or the planter tractor or the sprayer or the combine, the grain cart tractor, the interface was the same. Like you get into that tractor and it looks familiar and it's comfortable to you. I've used an example once of every 2 times a year I have to go into my cars and change the clock on the cars. And one's a 2012 Sienna and one's a 2017, I think, Chevy car. And I get into that thing, especially in the Toyota. Nothing against Toyota, I love them. But to change the clock on those things is like where it takes me about 10 minutes to figure out how to get to the right menu to just change the hour up or down one. And I kind of utilize that analogy to technology as well. Like tractors alone, depending on if you've got a mix of different years of tractors, just running the tractor can be complicated. It's like, okay, how do I get into gear? How do I change my hydraulic flow? How do I do all these things? And then you have a display in there that you're not familiar with or that's not necessarily user friendly to also operate to make sure your planter or something is doing what it should do. And it just leads to a lot of headaches that, once again, Ag Leader, I think, is really geared towards making it easy to operate your equipment from the operator's standpoint so that they're not sitting there fighting and cussing the screen because they don't know how to use it. So that, my cousin has mentioned that a few times. Like, man, we put these Ag Leader displays in the vehicles, and most of the operators that we have in the farm can hop in there and just use guidance. Whereas on some of the other displays, maybe older OEM displays or something, it's not straightforward just to set a guidance line on them.
A little more clunky.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had to, he said that I had to Google how to drive. We went from a 2004 8420 to a 2020 8345 with an E23 transmission. And I could make it move, but I'm like, there's 4 different transmission settings,
Yeah.
and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing here? Like, I felt stupid. I'm literally YouTubing how to drive a tractor, and I've farmed all my life, so it's true.
That is interesting, but at least your clock problem might be getting solved if we go away from daylight savings time.
That'd be amazing, I think.
But for me, it's even when I go to have to reset the oil life.
Yeah.
It's a couple thousand miles ago, but I still might not remember. I got to go in and I got to hold okay.
Yep.
The engine
there's
have to
a
be
way
on?
for
the
us
key.
dumb people to go through and do it, but then there's like also a quick way that all the mechanics know. Like if
Yes.
you hold these 3 buttons together at the same time, it resets the oil life.
Scratch your head, tap the brake.
Oh, we were at Custom Harvesters, and these guys are professional combine drivers, right? They're filming safety videos for the organization, and nobody could figure out how to get the gleaner to move.
Yeah.
Remember them telling us that?
Yeah, yep.
It's like we were embarrassed because we drive combines for a living. We could get the New Holland to move, the Case to move, the John Deere to move. I don't think they had an ideal, but either way, they got into the gleaner and they could turn it on.
Yeah.
Nobody could make it go anywhere.
Yeah. When I go up to the operation, sometimes will get new equipment on there, and I step into that thing and I'm almost like anxious. Like, okay, I don't want to break something. I don't know how to use this thing. I know there's so much technology that are built into the newer tractors, and oftentimes it's even just hard to get that stuff set up to do what you want to do. One example is like the with Ag Leader's Turn Path product that we announced. It's a simple thing in our display. If you have our steering system and our display, you can set up a pattern or a path to automatically turn on the ends. Well, tractors have had those functions to be able to do end row turns for a number of years, maybe like a decade. But if you go and visit a farmer that has that tractor that can do those end row turns and ask them if they're using it, many of them say, no, I'm not using it.
I have the ability. I haven't done it.
Because I got to time the implement raising and lowering, and if the turn's not perfect, it doesn't work right, so the timing's off.
Yep.
And because it just doesn't work right, I never use it. Well, with like Ag Leader's Turn Path, we wanted to make something that just worked and was easy, and we accomplished that. And now we have most farmers with our products are successfully doing at least the end row turn, whereas they've never been able to do that before.
Are they end rows, or is it the headland?
End rows.
Oh, are we going to debate this? I can go either way.
It's end rows.
I call them
There's a third one out
Turn
there.
rows.
turn rows,
Yeah.
headlands, end rows. Yep.
I call them end rows.
I also call them end rows, but I know I've seen the debate. I
Yeah.
have fired in there.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know what to call it. Half the country's going to call me stupid and an idiot, and the other half is going to say I said the right thing.
It is though. I could watch drone videos of good planter operators and good sprayer operators making their turns. It's cool to see the ones that obviously have spent too many hours in the cab, and it's just perfect. It's like
Yeah.
poetry in motion.
Yeah,
Everything lines up right when they go pointed back into there. Whenever I do it, I hit that resume button, and it always has to adjust me back to where
Yeah. I
could
mean
use that.
it takes some time. You got to have that like tribal knowledge on how to run it. Okay, I'm watching my line when I'm turning. Where do I hit the engage button so that I don't have the tractor swerving and
Yeah.
pulling my implement all goofy on the end?
It's gotten a little easier as planters have gotten and sprayers have gotten wider
Yeah.
because you're not trying to turn so hard
Yep.
and so fast.
Mm-hmm.
When I used to do the 40-foot planter, I really liked it when I could get turned and go back straight. That's how the 60-footer, it's pretty easy. I still have a few that come in a little wiggly, get a little tired.
Yeah, it happens. And once again, just being able to consistently drive or have the vehicle steer that turn automatically. It's one less thing that you have to pay attention to on the ends. It's just, okay, I know that's the steering system has that covered. I can watch my boom, make
Yep.
sure it's not getting into something. I can pay attention to other things and not have to be also steering my vehicle and trying to hit a button or something to engage auto steer.
Yeah.
It just,
So we're coming into spring. This is a technology show. We're wanting to know some of the new stuff. I mean, what spring-wise, we got tillage and planting, I think is probably what people think about
spraying.
the most, and spraying.
mm-hmm.
What's new in that realm?
Yeah, I would say one thing that we're really excited about is the In Command Go display that we launched late last year. That's really getting its first season this year. So we've been talking about this new display and what makes it unique. Why is Ag Leader coming out with a new display? A lot of our dealers, customers have been waiting for Ag Leader to come out with a new display. Our last one was in the market for about 10 years.
No, it's the In-Command.
The In-Command, yep, the In-Command 1200 and 800. They've been around for about 10 years, and it's been a very successful display for us. But we're always trying to figure out what's the next generation look like. Obviously, as we continue to add products and functionality into that In-Command 1200 display, you start to run out of runway, and capability to be able to add more and more things, add more and more functions to where they're easy and clear for the operator to use. So with the In-Command Go 16 and 10, it's a new generation display for Ag Leader, and the goal of that was to make things, or to present information to the grower in a more effective way, to make it more clear to them with all the different functions on their equipment, their planters, their sprayers, so they can see clearly that their functions are all working the way that they should. And to do that, we've increased the size of the display, because obviously if you throw more stuff on a small screen, it just becomes cluttered and busy and hard to understand, or maybe you have to navigate away from a page or your map to be able to change a function. But with the larger display, we're able to actually present more of that information in front of the grower along with their map to be able to really operate their machine effectively. So
you said a 16 and 10. Is that the screen size?
Yep.
Okay.
16
That's
inch
almost
and
bigger
10.
than the little TV I had in my room as a kid.
They're impressive. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And it's not like it's not a competition on who can make the largest display. It's who can develop a display that fits well in the cab. It's the right size to be able to put the right information in front of me. And the reality was, it just made sense to make it a little larger so that we could present that information.
We were having the conversation actually yesterday afternoon with a guy that isn't in the precision side of things. He's more on the chemistry side of things. And he was like, yeah, farmers have all these screens all over the cabs. And, 5-10 years ago, if you look to the right side of the tractor, or, you couldn't see out that window.
Yeah.
Because it did seem like we had a screen for about everything.
Yep.
But I personally feel like with things like this In-Command Go, like we have more on one screen that we can kind of customize different things that we want to look at, and I don't have all that noise now, which is nice.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest value, is if we can get down to, your tractor has its display probably in it, leave that to be in control of your tractor and all the diagnostics of your tractor settings, and then get to one display that can just handle all the other advanced features and functions of that thing, whether it's your steering system or your planter system, whatever it may be. That way, the more you can use one display and understand the UI, the layout, the features, how to use it, it just makes it much less complex to use.
Yep.
If you have 4 different displays in a tractor, they might have 4 different processes to calibrate a flow meter or something.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, which one is actually doing the flow meter? Is it this one or that one? And how do I something's wrong on this one. How do I fix it? And if it's completely different than what you're used to, it can be a frustrating ordeal. So bringing all that together on one is tremendously valuable.
Can I watch Netflix on it?
You cannot watch Netflix on it today. Feature request. I'll take that back to the team. And
Yep. Or Farm for Profit.
Farm for Profit.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, you want to watch YouTube. You don't want to watch Netflix.
Yeah, there should be a button for a Farm for Profit button.
That's great.
I'll take that into consideration. I'll
Would you
pass
like
it
to
along. I don't know
learn?
where it's going to go,
Would
but
you like to learn while you're running the tractor?
Be entertained.
Yeah.
be entertained. I like it. I like it.
Where have you guys been?
We just got back from the Custom Harvesters event where operators from across the country couldn't stop talking about Steinbauer performance modules.
Yeah, they're seeing up to 25% more power, better fuel efficiency, all with smarter injector duration and not altering the rail pressure for safe and reliable performance.
If you're looking to maximize your machine's potential, go to steinbauer.us and tell them Farm for Profit sent you to get yours today. That's neat. So far, what I've heard is the design is intentional. Everything that you guys put out is built around, let's make this easy to use.
Correct. We're very intentional with the products that we release and how we present those products to the grower, because you could have the most capable system in the world, but if you don't know how to use it, you're not going to be able to leverage the features of it. Yeah. So everything we design and build is geared towards the farmer. Most of the Ag Leader team that designs and builds these are farmers themselves and use our products, and they're part of the testing team that's working on this. And if it's hard or complicated for them to use, then they're bringing that information back and saying, guys, this isn't clear, this doesn't make sense. Why is this button here, not here? Because I use it all the time. And we're implementing that feedback constantly just to make our systems easier to run.
Yeah, we've used that term Apple easy, right? You know, whether you're an Android person or an Apple person, most people can figure out how to run an Apple pretty easy by poking around.
You remember though when the home button went away?
Yeah, that was weird.
That was hard.
But now we're all used to it. You figured it after a day of using it. You figured it out. You know. In fact, I was messing with my grandma's phone, and she still has a phone home button, and I'm like, oh, I haven't done this for. I actually kind of forgot. Like, this is weird. You know. So yeah, that was kind of fun. But,
Yeah.
So you got a new display. Is there anything technology-wise on top, the globe coming in, or is that still kind of the same?
Everything's still about the same.
Okay.
You know, we're continuing to work on adding new products to this display. It's going to be the baseline, the foundation for all our new products moving forward. So once again, the last display was around for 10 years. I don't know how long this one will be around, but we designed it to also last for, well into the future. So it's built, the hardware of it, the software of it is built to be able to add more and more things as Ag Leader comes out with them in the future.
That is nice to know that you got room to grow, because I don't think people would want to learn a new display every year or two. So every 8 to 10 is probably fine.
Yeah. Why don't I update my phone every year?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this one works. I like it.
Yeah.
I know how to use it.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in learning something new right now.
So what about on what that screen is controlling? Anything new sprayer-wise, planter-wise?
Not at this point. We're still, we have some new products coming out, or a new product coming out later this year, which we're really excited to talk about. We're happy to announce a product called Right Path, which is a passive implement steering solution for Ag Leader. So it's building on our existing steering capabilities that we have.
Passive implement steering?
Correct.
So there's a globe on the implement.
Correct. GPS receiver on
and
the
your
implement.
Passive would mean, correct me if I'm wrong, your tractor is steering based on where the globe on the implement is to keep it on, instead of the tractor. Typically, it would just be the tractor going on a straight line.
Yeah.
With the globe lined up.
Yep.
Like what you do on your strip till bar.
Yes.
You're a strip tiller.
Yes.
Nice.
Passive implement steering. Now, what you can do can be even more accurate. Maybe it's not more accurate, but they would have actual implement steering. Like the strip till bar that I have has that capability. We don't have
your
that.
wheels can.
We don't have that cylinder on it where it would actually steer itself to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But passive seems to be pretty good.
Yeah, we've had a lot of requests for passive. I think there's a place for active as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's, but it can be more complex if you don't have the hardware on your implement to be able to steer through the field or whatever. Then the farmer would have to add that stuff, and it gets
it's just another
expensive.
wear item. It's something that you need to calibrate and make sure that
Grease
you
and-
have the hydraulic capacity to do that, and so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just passive. I shouldn't say just passive, but it's a passive system, making it easy to install and retrofit onto your existing
It's
equipment.
kind of funky because the first time you ever use it, you'll be on the slight hill. You don't feel like you have that much drift in your implement, but then you can tell that the track, like you can just look at the roads, like I'm off. Like I would not be driving here if I was driving this. But then you look back and the planter or the tillage piece is right where it's supposed to be. You know, and it's like,
Why is that important?
Because when you're doing things like strip till and you're making an 8-inch strip that you want to plant into and be able to come back and accurately plant into, implement drift is real. Like it'll go downhill, right? So if you think you're driving on the right path, all of a sudden you won't be in that 8-inch strip that you were supposed to be in.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge. I was out looking at some videos that I took in a previous year in the sprayer one year, and they were spraying pre-emerge, and so you could see the rows where the planter went through the field as he was driving his sprayer through the field, and this is relatively flat ground. I mean, we're talking central Iowa where everything's flat and square, and I was amazed at how much swerving there was on those planter lines that I could see on a straight AB line through the field, and they're running RT They're running TerraStar X, so like RTK from the sky type of corrections to steer that thing. So they're very accurate, keeping the vehicle right where it needs to go through the field. But it's very apparent too that implement is not tracking with that tractor through the field.
I think some of that could be tillage.
Yeah.
From previous years, if you ripped at a certain angle, it almost feels like you're going through, like if you're on a boat and you're kind of up and down, like it almost feels like the planter would sometimes fall into that path.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm driving my pickup down the highway, and the grooves in the highway, just all of a sudden you can just feel yourself sliding a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, in 19 we put Sure Force on our, hydraulic downforce from Ag Leader on our planter, and that probably pushed us over the edge for a couple years later to go to strip till, because I was literally looking at my monitor and seeing all my downforce, and I could see the map of every field cultivator tire. Like I could see it, the angle that it was going through the field when you zoomed out and actually looked at it. I'm like, I should not be able to see that.
Yeah.
That is mind blowing that you can see that. So I was like, we need to be, because you're going to have some compaction no matter what with every piece that you're going across, right? There's several ways to deal with it. But in my mind, if I got hydraulic downforce, I want it to be going with it, so it's not constantly trying to change. I want it to, if it's going to be a wheel path, I want it to just stick down and be consistent.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of going up and down.
I do see a problem with this, though.
What's the problem with this?
If I no longer have my wide guess rows, does that lead to more rows of shame at harvest time? Like, it's nice to...
It shouldn't be if you have the technology in your combine to know where your path is, right?
Yeah. Well, and with some of the mapping improvements too that we've made on the In-Command Go display, if you plant with an Ag Leader system and then you take that display into harvest, we're clearly showing you where that planter went and where the guess rows would be on that planter. If you're using something like Right Path on the planter and you reload that guidance line into the combine later in the season, you can essentially use the guidance line in conjunction with those clearly identified paths of the planter.
So it's the opposite effect.
So I'm not saying it's going to fix it completely, but there are some tools in place on the new display, and especially if you're running Right Path as well. I think we might be surprised at how easy it might be to find where to pull that.
If you have that globe for the passive steering on the planter, it knows where every row is, correct? So like essentially maybe you don't need feelers on like the corn head because it knows where every row's at?
No, I'm not going to say that. I still think you're going to want feelers.
Okay.
But I mean, in theory, if you can keep the planter more in line on that guidance line and more accurately placed through that field, it's going to make your row head feelers work easier. It's going to put less stress on them because they're not having to steer through all these crazy curves and swerves of that planter throughout the field. So it'll make that performance a little better.
Okay.
So.
Okay. New technology could sometimes scare our listeners, though. How do we pay for it? How do you guys set up your fees, your service?
Yeah, good question. So this is not, we don't generally do like license or tech fees per use per season. I mean, that obviously you still have to have your RTK subscription if you are using RTK or TerraStar X. But that's the only subscription you would need for this product. So you get the receiver on the implement. You will have to get it unlocked specifically for this functionality. So you'll pay for that unlock on that receiver. But once it gets connected to your display in the cab and has In-Command Go in the cab and our steering system, it'll just continue to work for you.
Can you have multiple unlocks on a receiver? Like if I take it off my planter and put it in my mower?
Yeah, you can use it. It's just as a typical GPS 7500 or GPS receiver. You can take that off the implement and stick it on another vehicle and steer with that other vehicle. So it's not just limited for that very particular function.
Okay.
It's still flexible to be able to use throughout your operation to steer vehicles if you need to.
No subscription.
No subscription. That's pretty nice.
Haven't moved that direction yet?
Not yet. I don't think that's the intent either.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously that could change, but not for the time being. Yeah.
I just appreciate the flexibility because I would love for my in-laws to go whole farm and have everything communicate and talk to itself, and it's a hodgepodge like your cousins were a couple years ago. But it's also nice knowing that we can go get a unit to make our mower function better.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to work that way. So if a listener wants your turn path, or I'm sorry, your right path,
Or turn path.
they could, yeah,
Yeah.
they could go ahead and do it.
They can get it. Yep. And that's oftentimes where most people start. You know, it can be a big investment to just switch your entire operation over to a completely different technology, but it's a process, and that's where I'd say our dealers come in and they're experts on this, and they want to help the farmer achieve their goals. And it's like, man, if you want to move this direction, let's start taking some steps. Let's just get it. Let's start with guidance and steering and put it on your tillage tractor. Let's use some of these. Get comfortable using these features, turn path. Let's then next year maybe look at adding that planter system to your planter, that downforce system, that row by row electric drive system. Let's put it on your sprayer. Let's put nozzle by nozzle on your sprayer, or just a basic rate controller on there, so we're mapping everything and we're using steering. I like that you said it's flexible, because every farm is a little bit different, has different equipment, different technology, different goals, but there's a place to fit ag leader on, I think, in about any operation, and then grow with what that farmer's doing long term. So my family rolled they were rolling equipment fairly often. So it's like, okay, what's this new piece of equipment gonna come with, and does it work with what I'm currently doing? And oftentimes it doesn't. But once again, well, maybe not this year, but next year, let's just get it set up for ag leader. So regardless of what tractor you hook up to this implement, you can just plug in a cable and it'll run. It'll work.
Yep. I would say, if you're at all interested in it, is talk to your ag leader dealer. And so Brett came out to my farm last year with
What? Brett?
Yeah, they had this cool, I can't remember if it was a Gator or a Ranger. I think it was a Ranger. And they
Not a
unload
tracker?
No, they unload this thing, and it got this funky front boom on it, and got the ag leader display and all that, and he's showing right spot. So he's doing that, but then he's also like, check this out, like the turn path, and he actually shows it to you like you're in a tractor. He's got this thing rigged up, and you can actually see as you're turning, like the inner nozzles, cut rate, and the outer nozzles put more on, but then also, it'd steer for you and all that. And I'm like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So like when you can see it firsthand like that, it really just helps. For me, as a visual person, I need to like touch and feel it.
Yeah.
We can talk about it all day long, but if I can see it, I'm like, oh yeah, now I see why this is a value.
Yeah.
So to have them come out.
That's huge. You said Brett. I was thinking my cousin Brett.
No,
because
no.
That'd be even cooler,
that's
right?
Jacob's younger brother's name.
No.
So when you said Brett
Brett
came
from
out, I'm
Ag
like,
Leader,
why'd
sorry.
Brett come to your farm?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, yeah.
It's a different Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah, we found that to be a tremendous, I think it just helps, once again, farmers put themselves back in the cab, and to make them remember the pains of like spraying, let's say. And, oh yeah, spraying these corners is hard and I hate doing it. Or turning around in the end is hard, I hate doing it.
Yep.
Or going along my border, my boundary with a 120-foot boom is hard, because I got a lot going on.
Yep.
And when you just see all that stuff put together in one system and you put yourself back in the cab, it's like, oh man, this would make spraying so much easier and better.
For sure.
That's pretty
For
cool.
I also, when we were down at the show this week, talking to Luke from Ag Leader.
Not cousin Luke.
Not cousin Luke.
Not cousin. How many times do you ever hear of a product going down in price?
Oh, I did hear that conversation.
He told me the right spot went down since the last, because I had a quote on it from our dealer late last fall, and we didn't know if we were going to keep the sprayer or not. And then I found out this year it's cheaper than it was last fall.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
You and Mint Mobile or whatever that commercial that now I can't think of the celebrity's name that does
Ryan?
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds.
Reynolds, yeah.
I thought I was only gonna have to do these commercials, and this is my 100th one.
Yeah.
Got to get Luke to do his Right Spot commercial.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing too is the new InCommand Go 12, the new InCommand Go 16 has reduced in price. If you think about it, compared to our last display, with getting our connectivity option in the cab, with our new displays, we come with the modem and the hardware to get connected to the internet, and that might be one of the most valuable parts that I can see it impacting our operation, was having all of our machines connected and talking to each other with that internet source in the cab. Now that comes with the In-Command Go 16, the hardware to get connected. You don't have to buy that separately, and we've made the process of getting connected to the right service provider extremely easy. But when you do that, once again, you get all your data moving back and forth between machines. You get all your data moving up into Agfinity Cloud, so you can look at your maps anytime you want to see them. iPad, on your phone. You can get remote support on that as well. So if somebody's having troubles figuring out, I need to change this setting on a guidance line, you could get on your phone, remote into that display, and literally poke around on it and get them to the right page and make the right settings for them. That's been huge. I find myself doing that all the time when they're up farming. I pull up Agfinity, see someone's out in the field doing this, remote into their display, see what they're looking at, make sure things are working all right, and then
Can you
check
talk
out.
to them like a Ring doorbell?
I can't talk to them at this point. I can call them on the phone.
Put that in. Put that in next, right after the Farm for Profit button.
Yeah.
Have that call-in button. You can be like, hey, I see what you're doing.
It's the crap button.
Uh-huh.
Hit the crap button and you'll get connected to me. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Well, I appreciate your time. I love having people in studios. Thanks for coming and hanging
great.
out with us.
This is a nice studio, by
Thank
the
you.
way. I am very jealous.
You're welcome back anytime.
All right. I appreciate that.
Yeah? But if our listeners are curious to learn more, or if they want to get in contact with a Blue Delta member, God, I just love that.
Blue Delta. It just sounds awesome, doesn't it?
It does.
It either sounds like Special Forces or an airline.
It does. That does.
Delta Airlines. Depending on your experience with Delta Airlines, I don't know if I want to make that connection.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I don't know.
That's funny. How do they look it up or get more information?
I would say go to agleader.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on X, or previously known as Twitter. There's multiple ways you can find us, but the
I got one
internet's
of
a
the
good place to start.
best social medias for a company. You know,
Really?
you guys do pretty good.
Yeah, that's something we strive to do.
Yeah.
It's important to make sure that folks are aware that we're out here and what we're all doing, and I think it's as technology continues to be added and brought to the farm, it's one thing you can kind of count on is Ag Leader being high quality products, well tested. It's going to work. Our firmware, our software is reliable, well tested before it goes out to the field. We have a high degree of confidence our products are going to last and do what they want to do. So we just want people to know that what we're up to and what we're really motivated about and passionate about.
No other secrets you want to leak?
Not today.
First podcast is going to learn about Right Path.
Yeah.
Pretty big deal for our listeners to have that information before anybody else, unless they were in Louisville.
Yeah, unless they're in Louisville. So yeah, that's going to be a pretty big deal. I don't think you have to be running strip till in order to appreciate the benefits of it. It's like, man, just keeping your guest rows consistent, because if they're not, you might run over them later on in the next pass in the field. It just can be a headache. So
I was just looking it up. I don't think we can use military jargon for F4P.
Oh yeah.
Because F is Foxtrot and P is Papa. So you'd be Foxtrot for Papa. Probably not appropriate.
I don't know what that means.
Well, I don't know what it can mean either, but it definitely could have some innuendos, I think. But no, Logan, this has been a pleasure. We appreciate you hanging out with us. And for sharing that little nugget. That's neat. It's one of those things I'm going to take back.
Yep.
perfect.
Heck yeah.
That's all we want to learn here, right? So hopefully we learn something.
No, that's great. Listeners, we appreciate you hanging out with us. So until next time, have a good one.